Hey group, today I am going to talk about the Virgin Mary. I finished, remember I was talking about this book for my dissertation. I still don't really, Jay has taken a little French and he kind of coached me a little. I think you say it's something like shark, something like that. That's hard for me to say. But I finished this book about Henry Adams describing these cathedrals in France that were built, and he's kind of anti-dates. He's always like, I know everybody, especially the Americans, really want to know dates, like really want to nail it down. So he's never really specific in the dates, but he talks a lot about the 11th century. And what's interesting to me is that he talks about the extreme devotion that the people had in France to the Virgin Mary during this time, like in the 11th century. And he says, obviously he's right, that for us, he's writing in 1904, but for us moderns, it's almost impossible to grasp the level of devotion these people had for the Virgin Mary. Like they wanted to do this for her. Like they talk about this cathedral was built for her, and for her, the ideal of her, even though she's just doesn't have a lot of lines in the Bible, but she was just idealized as like this figure of grace and love. And he says that Jesus was almost too just, and that the mothers, especially the peasant mothers, loved to take a pilgrimage and go worship the Virgin Mary because she had lost a child. And he says, how many women lost a child in the Middle Ages? He says, probably all of them. And how they really love the Virgin Mary, and men too. And it's interesting how, again, I'm not afraid to say, I guess, embarrassing things. But okay, I'll just speak for myself. Speaking only for myself, I didn't really realize how super duper Protestant my upbringing was until I started studying like Catholicism or Judaism. I mostly studied the Judeo-Christian tradition. And, a lot of, for me, again, I just thought it was normal life. But I realize it's a specific Protestant culture that obviously doesn't include the Virgin Mary. And something I struggle with Christianity, that it's so masculine. God the Father, God the Son. That's something I'm like, this can't be right. So anyway, it's so interesting that the Virgin Mary, before the Protestant Reformation, and I think still in Catholicism, but at least according to Henry Adams, it's never been as strong as it was like in the time of the Crusades. Like this, they wanted this relationship with the Virgin Mary. They wanted to confess to her. They wanted just to be with her. And that's so interesting to me because I'm a seeker, and I'm always like, I am looking for something that I can totally give my heart to. And I think I'm too Protestant for the Virgin Mary. And I've been like, what about George Eliot? Or like, is there something, because I have a seeking religious heart that wants to give everything to something. And that's a struggle for me. Anyway, I guess this is not a very hilarious video, but what I want to know is, what do people think of like female deities? I know they exist in some cultures, but the great monotheistic religions, as far as I know, are very like masculine centered. So it's almost hard, at least it's hard for me. Like I only started thinking of this fairly recently, like, in all the prayers you pray to God and that's a he. So what does this all mean? Does anyone have any real relationship with like a female deity? And how does that work in your life? Like that's something I'm very curious about as like a theologian. So if anyone would like to jump in on this, I would love that. Again, I'm referencing one of my dissertation books, and I honestly didn't know it was going to be like this, so I didn't know I was going to be so into it because it talks about topics that I'm really interested in. It's like, spirituality and worship and like living for something. So anyway, let me know what you think, please. And see you later.